Hey friends, I am on your reading assignment today where we will be doing some highlighting and underlining. So I'm going to take you through and make sure that you know where everything is and make sure that you know how to be successful on this assignment. All right, so first of all, when you open up your assignment, it will look like this. And I'm going to click the hide image buttons just so I have a little bit more room to see what I'm doing. Then I will be at the very beginning of our story, Nature's Patchwork Quilt. Okay, then I'm going to go over here and click where it says Close Read. You might have to click it a couple of times. You might have to double click it really fast in order for these three drop downs to come out, okay? The first one that we're going to do is Explain Author's Purpose. So I'm going to click that little triangle and that will drop down a bunch of different things. But first, let's see what the book says about author's purpose and what it is. It says right here, an author's purpose is his or her reason for writing. And we're reading from right here. An author's purpose is his or her reason for writing. Oops. Identifying the author's purpose helps readers understand the message or meaning of the text. So we're going to be thinking about why the author wrote what they wrote, and that will help us understand the text. Okay, so we're going to start right here, and you're going to be doing all of these underlines here. When you get to the number 2 here where it says text evidence, you can stop. I just want you doing the underlines for today. So it says, my turn. Complete these close read tasks for Nature's Patchwork Quilt. Underline the parts that relate to the author's purpose. So it will tell you right here what to underline. Let's read this first one. Underline a detail the author uses to describe the topic of nature in paragraph 1. How do the details help explain the author's purpose and message? Let's see. Paragraph 1 is pretty short. It says, look into nature and you will see a patchwork of beauty and mystery. So I need to look for a detail that the author uses to describe the topic of nature. And I think that the author describes nature by saying patchwork of beauty and mystery. So what I did is I clicked and I dragged so that I highlighted that in blue. And then when I let go, it'll pop up with this. And I can click underline because this is an underline right here. And then I click save. So, I think that the details describing nature as a patchwork of beauty and mystery explain how the author feels about nature and what she wants me to know about it. So I think that's why the author used that for their description. Let's take a look at this next one. It says, underline details that describe the similarity between quilts and habitats in paragraph 6 and 7. How does this comparison help explain the author's message? So now we're going to look at paragraphs 6 and 7. So I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to read paragraph 6 and 7, and then we'll come back to the underlining to see what we need to do. It says, paragraph 6, a desert is another habitat with plants and animals that can live in a hot and dry climate. In a quilt, each piece has its own unique place in the design. In a habitat, each animal and plant has a special role called its niche. So, let's take a look and I think that the parts in paragraph 6 and 7 that describe the similarity between quilts and habitats are actually right. It's most of paragraph 7, I think. It says in a quilt, oops, hang on, I didn't get it all the way. Whoops. That's okay if that happens to you. I'll still know what you're doing. In a quilt, each piece has its own unique place in the design. In a habitat, each animal and plant has a special role called a niche. So I think that is where the author is describing the similarity between quilts and habitats. So I'm going to underline there. I'm going to click save. Okay, and I think that plants and animals need each other for survival, and each piece of the quilt needs other pieces, or the pieces are just small scraps. I think that's what the author is trying to tell us here. All right. Now, once you've finished with all of these underlines, so I already did the first 2 with you, so you just have a few left to do, then You will go back to the top. When you reach number 2, remember that you don't have to do any of this text evidence stuff. Don't worry about that. But when you reach the bottom of the underline, scroll all the way back up and then click this little triangle again. Then you'll click the second triangle, Visualize Details. Let's see what the book has to say about visualizing details. Authors use descriptive, and I'm reading right here, by the way, right there. Authors use descriptive details and imagery to create vivid mental images in readers' minds. These mental pictures deepen readers' understanding of the text and allow them to better understand the author's purpose. I like to think of this as like a mind movie. So the author uses details, adjectives, and descriptive words to allow the reader to make a mind movie of what's happening. So let's take a look at what we are supposed to highlight. These are going to be our highlights. Right here it says, my turn. Complete these close read tasks for Nature's Patchwork Quilt. Highlight evidence related to visual details. This first one here says, highlight details in paragraph 3 that help you create a mental image or a mind movie of how nature is like a patchwork quilt. Describe how this imagery helps the author achieve a specific purpose. So let's go back to paragraph 3 and let's read it. It says, nature is like a patchwork quilt. It has many different habitats all pieced together to create our wonderful planet. So I think that right here, where it says it has many different habitats all pieced together, I think that's a really great part of it that gives me a little mental image. It gives me a little image of things being pieced together. So I'm going to highlight that there. I'm going to make sure this says highlight. You get to pick your color, and then I'm going to click save there. Okay, so that's what I thought we should highlight. And I thought this because the author uses details comparing a quilt to many habitats pieced together creating the planet. The description matches the idea that nature is beautiful, and we know that this author is trying to tell us about how nature is beautiful. All right, let's do one more of your highlights before you start on your own. Right here, it says highlight a simile in paragraph 5. Explain how the simile conveys the author's purpose of helping the reader create a mental image of the interdependence of plants and animals. Okay, so a simile, I'm glad we did this one because we've you probably talked about similes in second grade, but I want to give you a reminder that a simile is what you can do in your writing when you are comparing something using the word like or as. So let's read if we can find the word like or as in paragraph 5, and then I'll show you where the simile is. Paragraph 5 says, each plant or animal depends on others, like a quilt stitched together. We call this interdependence. Ooh, so I see in paragraph 5 right away, I see the word like a quilt stitched together. That would be part of our simile. So our simile would be each plant and animal depends on others like a quilt stitched together. So it's comparing a quilt stitched together to plants and animals depending on each other. So I'm going to highlight that right there. That is a simile. It's a comparison of two things using the word like or as, and this one used the word like. Okay? Now, let's talk about how the simile conveys the author's purpose of helping the reader create a mental image of the interdependence of plants and animals. Well, for me, it helps me think about a quilt and then animals and plants depending on each other. It makes me think about the quilt being stitched together, and every piece has a meaning in the quilt, and how each plant and animal has a meaning in the wild. That's what it helps me understand. All right, my friends, you are going to be working on the rest of your highlights after you finish your underlines. When you get to number 2, where it says text evidence, don't worry about it. You could stop right there, and then you will be all done once you have done all of your highlighting and your underlining. All right, my friends, have a great time, and I'll see you next video.